The sterile smell of antiseptic clung to the air as the late evening shift settled into a familiar, quiet hum at Cedar Ridge General Hospital. Nurses moved like clockwork through the corridors, pushing carts, checking charts, and comforting patients. It was just after 9 p.m., and in the pediatric wing, soft lullabies drifted through the speakers, lulling young patients into much-needed rest. But outside, the night was anything but routine. The red and blue flicker of patrol lights bathed the emergency entrance as Officer Mia Navarro stepped out of her cruiser, her German Shepherd K9 partner, Rex, at her side. They weren't responding to a crime, not exactly. They were there for a routine community sweep, part of a new program aimed at building public trust and increasing visible security after a string of unexplained incidents at nearby care facilities. Nothing serious. Just a precaution, everyone said. Rex was known on the force for his precision. Trained in narcotics, explosives, and behavioral detection, he had an uncanny ability to sense things others missed. Mia had learned to trust his instincts completely. So when they were asked to perform a walkthrough of the hospital for public reassurance, she expected a calm evening. They began their patrol on the lower floors, making friendly conversation with staff, offering handshakes and tail wags. Patients smiled, nurses posed for selfies, and doctors waved from behind their stations. But when they reached the pediatric wing, everything changed. Rex froze just outside room 212, a small, dimly lit room housing a young girl recovering from a severe case of pneumonia. Her name was Ellie, a quiet, pale 7-year-old with big brown eyes and a stuffed bunny clutched tight to her chest. Her mother sat beside her bed, half asleep in a chair. As Mia passed by, Rex suddenly tensed, his ears shooting up, nose twitching. Then he barked, a sharp, sudden sound that startled everyone around. Mia halted. Rex didn't bark without reason. He turned toward the bed, specifically toward the thick hospital-issued pillow under Ellie's head. His growls deepened, his eyes locked on that one object. Nurse Becker, who had been escorting Mia, frowned. "It's just a pillow, Rex," she said with a nervous laugh. But Rex lunged closer, his teeth bared now, his body rigid. Mia knew this posture. He wasn't confused. He was alerting. She gently stepped forward and said to the mother, "I'm going to have to check that pillow." The woman looked up, dazed. "Is something wrong?" "We're not sure yet." Mia reached out carefully and lifted the pillow, slowly, cautiously. Ellie stirred but didn't wake. As the pillow rose, Rex barked again, violently this time. Mia flipped it over, and saw it. A small, almost imperceptible slit in the stitching on one side. No ordinary wear and tear. It had been sliced deliberately. Her stomach tightened. She reached into her belt pouch and pulled out gloves and a penlight. Slipping her fingers into the opening, she felt something. Not foam. Not fabric. Something smooth. Something foreign. She carefully extracted a small, black plastic device no bigger than a credit card, wrapped tightly in medical gauze. Mia's hands froze. She had seen this kind of thing before, micro-trackers, often used in human trafficking cases or covert surveillance. "Call security," she whispered to the nurse. "Now." Becca stared in shock. Why would something like that be in a child's pillow? Mia didn't answer. She was already calling it in. Within minutes, hospital security arrived and cleared the room. Ellie was moved to another bed under watch. The pillow and its contents were bagged and labeled. Back in the hallway, Mia crouched beside Rex, scratching behind his ear. "Good boy," she murmured. But her mind was racing. Why would someone hide a tracker inside a sick child's pillow in a hospital? Who was being watched, and for what purpose? Detective Ray Jensen arrived an hour later, his usual gruff demeanor sharpened by the late hour. Mia briefed him while the techs ran scans on the tracker. "You're telling me someone smuggled a device into the hospital, planted it in a pillow, and no one noticed," he muttered. "Looks that way," Mia said. And if Rex hadn't picked it up, she let the thought hang. Ray rubbed his temples. You think it's related to the missing kids case? MIA stiffened. Over the last 6 months, 3 children had disappeared from hospitals within a 200-mile radius. No forced entry. No signs of struggle. No leads. Each child had been recovering alone at night when the abductions occurred. It matches the profile, MIA said. This could be how they marked their targets. They reviewed security footage from the past 48 hours. At 3:13 a.m. the previous night, a masked individual in scrubs had slipped into room 212. The footage was grainy, and the face was obscured, but the movements were careful, almost rehearsed. The person had carried a pillow. They swapped it, Ray said. That's not the original pillow. MIA nodded grimly. They marked her. Ellie was next. The silence that followed was heavy. We need to lock this place down, Ray ordered. And we need to find out how someone got in here undetected. Meanwhile, Rex sat quietly in the corner, but his eyes never stopped scanning. He sniffed the air again, nose turning toward the east hallway, toward the surgical wing. MIA followed his gaze. Something wasn't right. He's not done, she said aloud. He's still picking something up. Ray raised a brow. More devices? Maybe, MIA replied. Or maybe whoever planted it is still here. As the clock crept past midnight, the hospital transformed from a place of healing into the center of a terrifying mystery. Someone had infiltrated their walls. Someone was hunting the most vulnerable. And the only reason their plan had failed tonight was a dog's bark and an officer who knew how to listen. But the hunt was far from over. What lay ahead would make the discovery in the pillow look like a warning shot. Because Rex had only scratched the surface. And what they were about to uncover next would shake the hospital to its very core. The air in Cedar Ridge General had shifted overnight. What was once a place of comfort now pulsed with tension. Security guards stood at every entrance, and officers paced through halls that once welcomed only the soft hum of medical machines and whispered lullabies. No one could quite say it, but everyone felt it. Something terrible had nearly happened. And it might still. The staff murmured in the break rooms, asking why a police dog would bark at a pillow. Only a handful of people knew the truth, and they weren't sleeping. Detective Ray Jensen stood over the evidence table, arms folded, eyes fixed on the tracker pulled from Ellie's pillow. It wasn't a standard GPS. The tech team identified it as military-grade, one used in covert surveillance ops, untraceable, with limited-range encryption that could relay signals to a nearby receiver. This isn't just some predator tagging victims, Ray muttered to MIA Navarro, who sat across from him with Rex at her side. This is tactical. Calculated. Someone with training planted that thing. MIA nodded slowly. And if they were watching Ellie, there could be more. Her eyes turned toward Rex. He was sitting alert, ears up, eyes fixed on the double doors to the surgical wing again. MIA trusted his instincts more than anyone else's. She stood. He's trying to tell us something. Ray followed as she led Rex down the corridor. It was still early morning, and the halls were quieter than usual, though a few nurses passed with tired glances. Rex stopped outside a supply room door. He sniffed once, twice, then barked, low and deep. Mia's heart jumped. She stepped forward and gently opened the door. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Shelves lined with gauze, for bags, and gloves. But Rex pushed past her and stopped at a tall stack of neatly folded linens. He pawed the corner, then growled. MIA lifted the top linens and saw it, another pillow. Just like the one from Ellie's bed. She picked it up, checked the seam. It was stitched perfectly, but Rex's nose pushed at the center. She pressed her fingers into the stuffing, and felt it. Another tracker. Wrapped again in gauze and tucked deep inside. MIA pulled it out with trembling hands. That's 2, she whispered. They had a second target. Ray's face went pale. Check the patient list. Whoever was assigned to this room, before he could finish, a nurse burst into the hallway, breathless. Room 219, Emma Alvarez, she's gone. MIA and Ray looked at each other, adrenaline flooding their veins. They ran. The room was empty. The bed unslept, the floor removed cleanly. No signs of struggle, no screams, nothing broken or scattered. Just gone. Emma Alvarez was 8 years old, recovering from a minor surgery. Her mother had gone home to grab clean clothes for the next day. When she returned 20 minutes later, Emma was missing. Check every exit, Ray barked into his radio. Lock down the entire floor. No one leaves without ID. But they were already too late. Security footage revealed the horrifying truth. Someone dressed as a nurse, wearing a mask and gloves, calmly entered Emma's room at 4:12 a.m. They lifted her gently, bundled her in a blanket, and wheeled her out in a hospital laundry bin. They moved with chilling confidence, bypassing every checkpoint, waving politely at staff who never thought twice. They exited through a side door used only by maintenance. And then, gone. I want a list of every person who clocked in last night, Ray growled. Cross-check names, faces, backgrounds. Someone's using this hospital like a hunting ground. MIA stared at the screen, fists clenched. They're marking children in advance. That's what the trackers are for. Choosing targets. Then sending someone in when the time is right. Rex was pacing now, uneasy. He could feel the fear radiating off the humans around him. He sniffed toward the vents, toward the floor, his body restless. MIA watched him and frowned. Ray, what if they didn't just come and go? What if they're still here? That idea chilled them both. The thought that someone so cold, so precise, might be walking those same halls in scrubs or a lab coat. It made everyone a suspect. Ray pulled up the credentials of every night shift employee. One stood out. Dr. Lawrence Crane. New to the hospital. Started 2 weeks ago. No online presence. No references from his previous facility. Supposedly transferred from out of state. This doesn't add up, Ray said. His file is half empty. MIA took one look and was already moving. Let's find him. They searched every floor. Exam rooms. Break rooms. Even the basement where old equipment gathered dust. But Crane was nowhere. His ID badge had last scanned in the pediatric wing at 4:06 a.m., just before Emma disappeared. He's the one, Ray said through gritted teeth. He knew how to disable cameras, walk out without a trace. And he planted the trackers, MIA added. God knows how many more are out there. Suddenly, Rex growled again, this time toward the fire exit stairwell. MIA and Ray drew their weapons. They moved quickly but carefully, Rex leading the way. On the third floor landing, they found a white coat. Fresh blood splattered the sleeve. An empty tranquilizer syringe lay nearby. A phone buzzed inside the coat pocket, a single message flashing on screen, 2 down. Third ready by tomorrow. Ray's hand trembled slightly as he read it. There's a list. MIA nodded slowly. We're looking at an organized abduction ring, using hospitals as their recruitment grounds. They're not just taking kids, they're choosing them carefully. Maybe for sale. Maybe for something worse. She didn't want to say it, but they were all thinking it. Back in the pediatric wing, parents clutched their children tighter. The hospital went under full lockdown. Background checks swept the staff. But Dr. Crane, or whoever he truly was, had vanished. No digital trail. No fingerprints. Just a single phone and 2 stolen children. Later that night, MIA sat in the dark beside Rex. Her hands were still shaking. We saved Ellie, she whispered. But Emma's out there. And she's not alone. Rex rested his head on her lap, but his eyes stayed open, sharp, alert. He knew the job wasn't over. The pillow had been a warning. A trail. And the enemy wasn't finished. because somewhere, in some other hospital, another child lay asleep with a pillow under their head and eyes in the walls watching.